Hello, it's Beatrix, Yuna, or Nozomu, depending on where you know me. So, I want to talk about the new patch notes, the Abyssal Depths patch notes specifically that have dropped in-game. I was waiting for a bit to see what they would do and if anything would change. We are approximately 6-ish hours from the actual drop of these patches. This will be around 5 a.m. CST or 10 UTC. And some of these patches are actually quite significant, while others are kinda meh. So first up, we actually have the arcane staffs. And the thing that's gonna hit some people is the astral staff. For those who knew, it was 50% resilience pin, so what they did is they changed it to 35 resilience pin. This is good, this is a step in the right direction. What resilience pin did is when you have multiple people targeting a single person, resilience would step in, granting that person a sort of buff that would increase their defenses versus all. So, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but like 8 people it was 50%, so if 8 people are attacking you would have 50% damage reduction. I'm just throwing a number out there. So, this is good. Astral Staff does some really nice AoE escalation. It also, this resilience pin is nice when you're in small scale. I don't think it's going to make too big a difference in larger scales. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, just because I don't do ZPZ that much. Its overall damage is probably going to be the same, though. This is not a direct nerf to its damage, so this thing is still going to hurt a lot. Which is kind of sad about, because it's still really meta, so it's still gonna hurt. There's nothing you can do about it. But it has been downgraded to, I think, a melee weapon's worth of resilience pen. So that's nice. The second thing is actually going to be the Great Arcane. This is a really good change for many reasons. So, Great Arcane's cooldown and energy cost has been scaled. See? So, if we take a look at Great Arcane T4, 85 energy, cast time, 44 second cooldown. 94 energy, 41 second cooldown. So what they did is they increased the energy cost for this thing. And increased its cooldown, but they increased its cooldown per 100 IP. So you get rewarded for speccing this thing up more. So instead of the usual 1 second per 100 IP, you're getting 2.5. But at the same time, you are also getting a higher cooldown if you have less IP. So if you're running flat for, you know, everything with this, you're not really going to be able to use this weapon as much as you should. Whereas if you're running like 120 spec full in 2020 here, you are going to be able to use that weapon a lot. So here, I'll even like take off this IP. So remember this, flat 4 right now, he'll even go T8 equiv. So even T8, 1500, 30 second cooldown. Really big difference. Whereas the 60 second or 45 second cooldown, so you've 15 seconds chopped off that cooldown, which that T8 means you are actually running at the regular 30 second threshold for some comps. But here, let's take all this out. Boom. Alright, I've completely nuked my IP. Now we're at 800. 45 seconds. So there is a threshold. So it says cooldown is reduced after 1400 IP. You notice that's not true. But it's it does hurt a bit more. I do want to see something here. So this is 41. So this is 44 seconds. This is 41. Does this go any lower? Let's say I run this to 50 IP. So 50 spec. We'll add exactly 100 IP basically. Alright, so remember, 41 seconds. 41 seconds. So it actually scales with the tier. Although, I'm pretty sure... No, they don't. Alright. Yeah, so it just scales with tier. I think this is based off base IP or something. Because that feels really, really weird. Huh. Alright. I don't know what they're using to calculate that, because you would think the higher the IP, the better it is, but alright. Next up is Axis. So, Infernal Reap, Infernal Scythe, Bloody Reap, is actually getting a cooldown. So it's actually going to be 20 seconds compared to the 25. Makes you a bit more in line with the 15-second CDs of other weapons. But they're saying this is to bring it back into the meta. I don't know how well that's going to do. Because ever since they made it a bleed effect, it kind of killed the weapon, honestly. However, I still see it used sometimes. Kinda neat. Bear Paws is actually getting a nerf, thank fuck. So, Bear Paws had 20% lifesteal. Apparently they had a bug where it was not displaying the lifesteal properly with food and all that. So after that's been fixed, they're putting it back to 15%. It was 10% originally, now it's 15%. Bows are actually getting a really big rework here. So, Deadly Shot has been the longest range Q in the game, meaning you could outkite and outpoke most other weapons. It's getting its range rolled back to about 18 meters. And Enchanted Quiver, the bow, the regular bow, is getting a bit of a rework. So the initial arrow count is going down to 4. The maximum arrow count is going up to 5, or going down to 5. But the attack bonus is going from 230 to 280. And the attack bonus with a player within 6 meters is going from 185 to 235. So the highest before is now the new lowest, and the new highest is about 50% buff. That's crazy. And its cooldown is getting from 12 seconds to 10 seconds, so 2-second cooldown. Energy cost is also getting reduced on top of that. It got a really interesting rework. Its overall DPS, I'm sure, is going to increase over the battle's length, but that's only one target. I don't think this is going to be used anywhere outside solo play anymore. You may see this come back in like corrupted dungeons or something, but right now it's just kind of eh. I was testing it earlier. You're doing 235 damage again on 8-4 with full cloth. With food bonuses and everything, like 8-3 food. It's not a really big buff. I honestly still think they need to rework this thing completely. Whispering Bow is still just better. They're also changing multi-shot for all bows. So multi-shot will now slow. It doesn't knock back anymore. So there goes your interrupt for those bow players. You don't have an interrupt anymore. Unless you're a Badon player, you don't have an interrupt. You have a slow instead. Into 1 second slow. Great. For T8, maybe a 2-second slow. Look at T8. So yeah, T8, it's a flat 2-second slow. It's 1600 IP, by the way. They did increase its damage, decreases the cooldown, so it's every 3 seconds instead of 5. So you can spam this thing more often. You can probably keep people permaslowed with this, honestly. Decent change, you lose the interrupt, but you gain a really, really nice kiting tool. This is also a 13 meter range instead of a 12 meter range. Really nice to have. But Dawn is also getting a bit of a rework, so it says the storm duration's actually going up to 5 seconds, but the ticks are going to from 1.8 to 2 seconds. So they say the actual damage impact doesn't count, is not remaining unchanged. But initial damage impact also counts as direct damage. So this initial damage impact, not the DOT after, will count as like your Merc Jacket and stuff. Like that. Kinda neat, but eh. So really nice adjustment, but it looks like the overall duration is unchanged. Honestly, I think the changing from 1.8 to 2 seconds after the attack after leaving is kind of a bit of a nerf, just because there's less damage going out overall in a shorter period of time, meaning it's less viable in clap comps. You could still technically use it, but you know, Miss Piercer, Sky Strider, Wailing just look much better at that point. Actually, it looks like the damage gets slightly increased if you stay in the zone. That is my bad. It also says the projectile increase is much better. We all know the fun YouTube shorts of Energy Shaper Soul Scythe getting taken over YouTube. Fear no more, they only added a extra energy cost to this. That ain't insignificant, by the way. You're gonna have 300, 400 energy in Hellgates, where this is mainly used. You're gonna use that in 3 rounds. Youch! Assuming you're not spamming your other abilities, right? So, nice. Curse Staves! Yay! Armor Piercer's getting a nerf. It's getting less damage, but it's adding AoE escalation. Adding AoE resistance escalation. So the more you hit, or people you hit with this, the lower their resistances are going to be. And to match this range, apparently it was 24 meters, but now it's 22. That was a bug, so that's fixed. Daggers. Really, really mobile. The Q2, Deadly Swipe, has its range reduced to 4.5. Daggers are really mobile. This makes for some really annoying stuff. Frost Staffs. Avalanche, no longer cleansable. Chillhowl also gets a radius decrease, but a damage increase. So its damage is less, sorry, its radius is less, but its damage is more. So you have that 16 meter radius, it's now down to 12. Sorry, diameter. Hammers, Tremors. Channel time has gone down from 1.8 to 1.6. You have a bit more damage there. Sacred Pulse. Healers are getting a bit of buff in PvE. You have Smite actually getting a buff, so more damage. And you have your healer thing getting reworked. Although it looks like they went away with that. No. They did something different. Okay. Yeah, so they removed the fact that it still does your knockback, but it no longer heals people in an AoE radius, which is interesting, but it heals yourself more. So you have a better sustainable heal. Smite has its damage increased and cooldown increased. Nice. So we have a 1.5 second cooldown instead of a 1 second cooldown? I don't know. Sanctify from Exalted Staff. they're just adding more stuff that it can cleanse. So it can actually cleanse Hellion Hood and Occult Staff. For Occult Staff, that's actually pretty neat, considering this is, I guess technically it is a debuff for allies, but it's also a buff for enemies. So, nice. And Hellion Hood. Hellion Hood is a buff for the enemy inside, and a debuff for allies, so that's a nice addition. I don't see this being used a lot, outside maybe big CPC fights, but nice, nonetheless. Mace's Morningstar cast, recast cooldown. So, Morningstar, I'm not too familiar with this weapon. Oh, it's a mace, is it? Yeah. So, originally it was supposed to be 45 seconds. Now it's going to be 40. IP advantage. IPs still scale with that. So, for me it says 25 to 29. Oh. I'm sorry, I'm doing it at 11 o'clock at night. Nature Stabs. Thorn Growth. So this is really nice. Nature Staffs are getting a slight AoE to this. So, Thorn Growth will have an initial area radius from 0 to 1. This makes it easier to hit. And Wall of Life's cooldown from Wild Staff has been tuned down. Like, I see the appeal now. I honestly do. I still have the problem that Golem is very, very meta right now. So your reset might get a Golem W in the middle of all that. But it could be really, really nice if the enemy team does not have Golem. It's a 600 HP heal, so it's about a Fallen Staff minus the heal, minus the whatchamacallit, minus the cleanse. Yeah, so it's about a Fallen Staff. It's slightly more, I think, but really nice. I still don't see this being used a lot. Quarterstaffs. The Mystic Rocks from the Staff of Balance is actually having its range increased by 0.5. So you have a 13 meter radius instead of your usual 12. So you might have a bit more fun with that. That's the slow and healing receipt decrease, by the way. Hellspawn. Hellspawn's been raining terror in Hellgates recently. A lot. I talked to a friend of mine, and he said he may just think the demonic staff is going to rain terror now, but I don't know how that's going to play out. What they did is they added a disruption factor. So usually when you think like crossbow, when you hit them, it takes them longer to cast. Only when you hit them with Hellfire Barrage, it's going to decrease the cast time. So you're going to do less DPS if you're being pressured. Kind of neat. Spears, Corrupting Steel. Oh my. Spirit Hunter is going to get a bit of a rework here. Kind of neat. So, this is an interesting thing. Area no longer does DOT. This is purely a pierce weapon now. It's not going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be a pierce. Neat. So it no longer does DOT, and it looks like instead it's doing this new effect, decreases magical resistances by an additional 13 for all enemies standing on the path. Question, what classifies as an enemy? Because if it's all enemy mobs, this could be really cool. This could be both really cool in open world, and it could be really cool in game, or in like statics and shit. Because now when you have 3 people standing on top of each other, they're gonna get hit by this, and that's the equivalent of a carving E. Kinda neat. This also increases AoE. It also added AoE escalation. So on top of that, you're gonna get this. I don't know if carving has AoE escalation. It might. This might be superior. What does carving's current look like? Da 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 da. Carving 53. What is that? 53? 63. So let's do some math real quick. So you would have to get 3 enemies. So you'd have to get 3 enemies for this to be worth a carving E. But it lasts less time than a carving E, so your window is shorter. So if you're confident that you can get more than 3 people in a bunch, this is better. But your timing has to be much better. Carving E lasts 6 seconds, this lasts 4. Now, it says the trail lasts for 4 seconds. So it could last 8, theoretically. 4 for the damage resistance, 4 for the... So basically they'd be standing on the trail the entire time, so 4 seconds after. So this could theoretically be better than carving, but you have to hit it and you have to make sure they stand on it. Good luck with that. Swords is actually getting a really nice rework / change. It's passive, so the 9% movement speed just doesn't have that anymore. So now it's just a 12% auto attack speed for your passive. But your Qs have a new ability, or passive. When you hit someone, depending on whether you're using Heroic Cleave or Heroic Strike, you now have a 20% movement speed buff. Heroic Strike gives you for 3 seconds, Heroic Cleave gives you for 5 seconds. Heroic Cleave is better for this, in my opinion. Just a longer cooldown. Nope, same cooldown. Being stupid. Cool. Iron Will now has a 30% movement speed buff instead of its 10%. Ouch! That's scary. Limit Breaker on Infinity Blade has been removed. Has had some really rework done. Its slow is too punishing, so its slow is no longer there. The buff has been increased to 6 seconds. The cooldown has been increased, and the resilience pen has been decreased. Kinda neat. And then Kingmaker as well. Hit delay has been from 0.2 seconds now to 0.1, and it ignores diminishing returns. The knockup does. So that will be a 0.8 knockup minus your CC resistances and no longer counts diminishing returns. Kinda neat. War Gloves, Dragon Leap, and Dragon Leap has gone from a 0 stand time to a 0.1 stand time for first cast, and its range has been decreased from 4.5 to 4 for first cast. Earth Crusher has gone from a 1.2 to a 1.4 knockup duration. Fleet Footwork, alright then, has gone from a 0.4 stand time to a 0.35 stand time. Cooldown has been increased to 4 seconds, and its dash range has been decreased to 6 seconds. Gravitational Collapse from Spike Gauntlet has had its slow duration reduced from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and its slow duration will now benefit from AoE escalation, so potentially a longer slow duration if you hit enough people. Offhand, Sacred Scepter has had its crowd control resistance factor increased from 1.2 to 1.8. So at T8 that means a nice 168 instead of your regular. Kinda neat. Hooded Tenacity has had a decent buff from a 2.5 second duration to a 4 second duration. They said they want this to be a more area denial tool, which is nice, but good luck getting people to stand in this. However, this is also a longer healing cut. Kinda neat to put on your melees. Maybe this will be something to look out for. Energy Regain has also had its thing reworked completely. There's no more energy regain, there is Energizing Shield. It restores 25% of your energy, but also gives you a 580 shield for 3 seconds. Before, this was Energy Regain, kind of pointless in PvP, but now if you're stuck on it, this is really nice. Might be really good for some healers and shit to get. On the contrary, you'll have to play with like other stuff like Cleric Cal, Scholar Cal, and other stuff like that determine whether it's worth it. Shoes. Judicator Boots has had its cooldown reduced and range decreased. So now it's a 10 meter instead of 11 meter, and its cooldown is now 20 seconds. Nice. Battle Mounts. This is really only useful if you're in ZBZ, but I'm going to cover it anyway. Battle Eagle's DOT duration from 8 to 6. Earth Tornado is from Juggernaut is no longer able to fool mounted enemies. Gee, I wonder why. The lifesteal values of the food has been reduced by about 25%. So all the lifesteal foods have had their stuff reduced. So only 7%. This was 9% before. It's 7% now. This is 4%. This was 6% earlier. This sucks for your really good DPSs that need to be sustainable. But it says they had an error where lifesteal would return less health than intended, so maybe it stays the same? I don't think it does, though. I think this is a nerf and it's gonna hurt really bad. Victorious Barrage, Spear Throw, Siege Bow, Heron Spear, all the Shapeshifter staffs, Raging Bow, all have had their skill indicators reworked. Nice. So they're better, I guess? I don't know. And Caltrops and Ballista Support Fire no longer require line of sight. Nice. Not to mention there's going to be a few adjustments. I'm going to show you one here. I'm in Caerleon, but I'm going to show you the same way. So every city is now going to have a little crack in the wall. It's different for every city. Caerleon is going to have this. So it's by the southeast because it's the Aquarius Den. What was the Aquarius Den? Well, this guy isn't usually here. What it does, you can do your Hellgates from here. Non-lethal, lethal, your choice. You have your little bank. Nice. You have this new guy here too.
Greetings,
which is a new loyalty point store. Interesting. So you can buy a Demon Crest here. These are really nice for PvE. Not bad. You can also buy these spiders here. This is a really good mount. This is an amazing mount. Like, the T8 spider is really nice. I don't know how I feel about the T5 spider yet. Could be good. I don't know. Based on its stats, I personally probably will not be riding a spider. However, these things are really fucking quick. Hold up. This is 110 on a T5 mount. What's a direwolf like? 130. Oh, okay. Kinda neat. I'm not gonna lie. So what they did is they took the lizard mechanic minus the carry weight and put it on this. So the gallop speed and the move speed are the same. So you don't get slowed. Kinda cool. Your health is shit though. You have more than a direwolf, but your health is still shit. Considering you don't have any armor to back it up. So, really nice. I think the health... Wait, I may be wrong. Hold up. What's the health on a T5 lizard? Yeah, your health is still shit. The T8 one has abilities, though. 117. Not bad movement speed. Approaching Swiftclaw range, actually. But for a T8 mount, this thing's probably going to cost you like 3 mil. Be prepared for that. Lift yourself into the air while airborne. You're immune to damage and crowd control. This ability can be recast to jump to any position within 20 meters. Neat. Interesting. Nice escape mount. I don't see it being used for much else. Plus it has a 40-second cooldown. But you get the loyalty points by doing your Hellgates, you get the loyalty points by doing your Corrupteds, and you get the loyalty points by doing the Depths. Now, I'm not going to show the Depths here. I'll probably go over that with my friends, but You go in, if you've ever played Dark and Darker, it's basically exactly like Dark and Darker. You have 3 floors, only in Dark and Darker you have 2. And the mobs and rewards get progressively better the lower you go. You can enter as a duo or trio, and yes, you can enter solo. The loot may be good. You do not drop your inventory. You drop your inventory on death, but you do not drop your gear. So anything up here is safe, anything in here is not. Keep that in mind, folks. Now, the new weapons. I'm going to grab a T8 version of each of the new weapons. So the new weapons are a shapeshifter and the hammer. Where the fuck is the hammer? I'm blind. Alright, there's the hammer. So we have a T8 hammer, and we have a T8. T8 hammer and T8 shapeshifter. I'm personally more excited for the shapeshifter, but I have more spec in shapeshifters on the main server than I do hammers. The hammer is going to be really nice, but there's a catch to it, which I'm going to show you.
Ready to leave?
So I did create this island early on.
Hold tight.
This is not my actual island. I don't have an island on Carrion, but I was lazy. So, alright, we're gonna try the hammer. Hammer's up first. Being a crystal weapon, has I believe a higher base IP than your typical weapons. I believe it's usually the same as the Avalonian, correct? Yeah, same as your regular 2 hands. So it's the same as the Avalonian. Of course, you get that +3 equipment to all your stuff in the warrior tree for 100 specking this. Really nice, but you also get the 200 for that. So this is 120 spec, so keep that in mind. So first things first. Resistances, you know, you have your standard Qs, your standard Ws, standard passives, but we have this E here. So at T8, this is 1600, almost 1700 IP, guys. It takes a 2000 hit point shield for all allies hit in the area for 4 seconds. Nice. Deals magic damage to enemies and applies 1 static stack. Alright. When enemies have 5 static stacks, they get stunned for 7 seconds. Now, minus CC resistance, this may not be a lot. This may be more like 3, 4, 5 seconds, but that is still a decent amount of time just to be stunned for, unless you have a cleanse. Kinda neat. The AoE is quite forgiving, quite long. Take a look at this. It's quite a big AoE. It's kinda scary. So I'm gonna hit. I hit all 3 of these from there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do that again. But you saw the little circles beneath? Now, I don't have the opportune set for this, but usually you could run this with a Stalker Jacket. Stalker Jacket counts as direct damage. So you can say E, Stalker Jacket, immediately proc my stuff, and stun a bunch of people right then and there. Really neat. I can see this being used once people have spec in it. This thing is going to be scary. If you don't have a cleanse, you're fucked. This is the other one this is the one I'm very happy about. 1700 IP again. It is a shapeshifter staff. Looks like they've actually fixed everything. We'll get right down to it. So you have attack damage, basic attack damage, mastery modifier, all that fun stuff. Kinda cool. Your max health, pretty neat. 3.1k. Health regen is 32. Max energy is 500. That's decently high. Like, for a shapeshifter, that's scary. At T8, nonetheless. You have a nice movement speed. Armor is 228, 228. Now, this is 301, but you're in plate. You are in plate when you're in shapeshifter form. You have some decent crowd control resistance. That's not going to matter much, but it's actually really nice to have. The auto attack damage is nice, but your auto attacks are really slow. You have a standard 25% across the board, except for CC duration, resilience pen, and healing. Yeah, so CC duration and resilience pen is the only thing you don't, which you have 20 and 15 respectively. But this is a bridge, so go into here. If you notice, Blood Moon has 30, Rootbound has 20. This is like the bridge between the two. You have 25. Neat. Kind of cool. We'll start with the passive. First passive. The passive you get from transforming. 15 seconds. Not a lot of time while you're in this thing, but it only has a 12-second cooldown. Nice. So, Slippery. The next time you're stun rooted, you cleanse yourself, gain a 40% movement speed, and immunity to stuns roots for 2 seconds. This is really nice. Its kit is scary. It scares me for a skilled player. This is not a solo weapon. It probably can be used solo if you find someone stupid enough, but it's probably not going to be a solo weapon. That's his first passive. Nice. Second passive. Each auto attack poisons the enemy for 200 magical damage over 4 seconds. It stacks up to 4 times. So you have 800 magical damage over 4 seconds. Ouch. 200 damage every 4 seconds and you can refresh it. Auto attacks also decrease the enemy's damage by 4%. It stacks up to 4 times, so you're also decreasing your damage by 4%. Ouch! These auto attacks hurt. Rightfully named Neurotoxin. So, we also have its Crystal Burst. Spew a concentrated magic, dealing 346 damage in a 4-meter radius. If you have 1 shift charge, also deal 283 magical damage over 3 seconds. This will do approximately 600 magical damage, and you reduce your enemy's healing. This is a 4-meter radius. Rootbound Q is a 6-meter radius. This is an answer to the Rootbound. That's scary, because you cut the healing. You overlap. So instead of getting the 10% they're going to think they're getting -10. You can stack this on with like Cold Discal, Tenacity, all that stuff, but that's for the comp players to play. So Serpent Gaze is like a GA. Really, really weird GA. Enchant your gates, petrify unmounted players. Can't petrify mounted players. Thank fuck. Deals 8% TD. Ouch. Imagine being a player with, 4,000 hit points and having fucking 400 hit points taken away as TD. Ouch. And you can't do anything about it. And your allies can't do anything about it except damage them. It also does 800 damage to mobs. So petrified enemies are stunned. This ignores crowd control resistance and can't be cleansed. Ouch! So you have to sit there and take it. So if the whole team gets caught on this, you're fucked. You can actually set this up as like a setup for an actual clump tank. They're immune to forced movement effects, so if you communicate properly, you can drop the gaze at a time and hit them. Now, petrified players do take damage, but they're 80% less. So keep that in mind. And they can't be petrified again for 10 seconds. Your cooldown is 21 seconds. You really shouldn't be worrying about this. You probably already only have 1 or 2 people per thing. There can be a really annoying combination, by the way, where you petrify them and then GA them because they're two separate effects. Kind of cool. That's the Serpent. I'm going to show you its little abilities. I have test dummies here. Get some stacks. So, yeah, I'm literally the Crystal Cobra. This is the Crystal Cobra's abilities. It's a nice little cone. It does have a healing decrease. You can see its little poison stack. This is a little interesting. So it says all 4 stacks. I didn't catch that. Okay, so the damage. That's cool. Alright, 31 magical damage every 0.8 seconds. How much does this hurt? Look at that little tick. Ouch. But yeah, that's kind of the abilities of all things. I feel like this is going to be either a really nice setup for your setup tank, or a really nice D-tank. Because this is a decent AoE. I feel like the other one is going to be really nice. Again, either D-tank or setup tank. Just because of the way it works. It's probably going to be a Stalker jacket build, or Hellion jacket. This is a very big AoE, by the way. That scares me. Like, Incubus taken up to 15 meters. I can hit people from here. Ouch. Reminds me a lot of a Realme. Anyway, that's kind of all the nooks and crannies of this patch dropped. There's going to be more. This is like test server patch notes, so the live patch notes may actually look different. Do your own research, check them out. Sorry I'm a bit late with this. I really wanted to make sure they didn't change a lot, which they actually did. This used to be a 4,000 hit point shield. They cut in half, thank God. Yeah, you can hit people from like here, by the way. Yeah, scary. Kind of cool, guys. But that's it. This is Beatrix, Yuna, or Nozomu, and I'll see you guys later.